Did you know that in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean, where sunlight has never penetrated, there are creatures that create their own light, painting the abyss with living color? Imagine a world where 90% of all life glows, where survival depends not on reflecting light, but generating it, where bodies become lanterns, lures, and warning signs all at once. Today, I'll reveal the 15 most extraordinary bioluminescent organisms on Earth. Creatures that produce cold light through chemical reactions evolution spent millions of years perfecting. These aren't simple glowing animals. They're living chemistry sets, biological light bulbs, communication networks operating in wavelengths we can barely perceive. From jellyfish whose genes revolutionized medical research, to fungi that make forests glow like alien landscapes, each represents a unique solution to the fundamental challenge of visibility in darkness. Stay to the end, because number one is a creature that not only produces one of the most spectacular bioluminescent displays in nature, but has also given humanity a tool that earned its discoverers a Nobel Prize and revolutionized how we study living cells. Let's begin. Number 15. Railroad worm, Phrixothrix species. Picture a larva crawling through Brazilian leaf litter at night. A living railroad train, 11 pairs of green lights running along both sides of its body, with a red headlight glowing at the front. This is the railroad worm, one of the only organisms on Earth that can produce two different colors of bioluminescence simultaneously from the same body. The railroad worm is actually a beetle larva, and both larvae and adult females produce this distinctive pattern. The green lights along the sides use firefly-like luciferase, but the red headlight produces long wavelength red light through a completely different chemical system. Most bioluminescent organisms are restricted to one color by their biochemistry. Railroad worms evolved two parallel systems. The green side lights likely serve as warning coloration. The larvae are distasteful to predators. The red headlight may help the larva see prey while remaining invisible to insects, many of which can't perceive red light well. It's using biological night vision goggles. That's the railroad worm, a living train of light, a creature that evolved two-color bioluminescence, proof that biochemistry can be more flexible than chemistry textbooks suggest. Number 14. Clusterwink snail, Hynea brasiliana. Imagine a snail that, when threatened, makes its entire shell glow bright green. Not the soft tissue, but the calcium carbonate structure that should be inert. The clusterwink snail uses its shell as a light amplifier, essentially turning protective armor into a bioluminescent lamp. The snail possesses a small bioluminescent organ in its foot. When threatened, it produces blue-green light, but the shell is structured to capture and distribute this light throughout the entire shell structure, making the whole shell glow uniformly. Research reveals the shell has unique optical properties, protein structures and calcite crystal arrangements that act as light guides, similar to fiber optic cables. By making its entire shell glow rather than just a small organ, the snail creates a much more dramatic visual display with minimal energy. The sudden bright flash startles predators, and the green glow may advertise toxicity. That's the clusterwink snail, a mollusk that turned its shell into a lampshade, proof that even calcium carbonate can be repurposed for optical effects. Number 13. Mycena mushrooms, various species. Walk through a humid forest at night, in the right parts of the world, and you might stumble into something from a fairy tale. Tree roots and fallen logs glowing with ghostly green light. Mushroom caps shining like tiny lanterns. These are Mycena mushrooms, one of over 70 species of bioluminescent fungi that paint the forest floor with living light. Bioluminescent fungi represent one of the oldest forms of biological light. Unlike most bioluminescent organisms that use light for communication or predation, fungi use bioluminescence to attract insects that will spread their spores. The green light peaks at night and attracts nocturnal insects that subsequently pick up spores, dispersing them far from the parent fungus. What's remarkable is that fungal bioluminescence has evolved independently multiple times. Different lineages of glowing fungi evolved similar systems through convergent evolution. The biochemistry is unique. Fungal luciferin is derived from caffeic acid, a plant compound suggesting fungi repurpose plant metabolites for light production. That's Mycena mushrooms, fungi that recruit insects with light, organisms that glow not to see, but to be seen. Number 12. Midshipman fish, Porichthys species. Picture the ocean floor at night. Spread across the sandy bottom are hundreds of small fish, each lined with rows of glowing photophores along their flanks, resembling buttons on a naval officer's uniform coat. Midshipman fish use their light for one of nature's most unusual purposes. They glow to attract mates, while males literally sing love songs. During breeding season, males excavate nests and produce a loud humming sound, a droning call lasting hours. Simultaneously, their photophores glow, creating a visual display to accompany the acoustic one. The bioluminescence is bacterial. Midshipman fish harbor colonies of bioluminescent bacteria in specialized organs. The fish provides nutrients. Bacteria provide light. The photophores are under neural control. The fish can regulate light intensity by controlling blood flow, essentially dimming or brightening their lights as needed. This suggests the display isn't static, but can be modulated, possibly communicating information about male quality. That's the midshipman fish, a creature that sings and shines simultaneously. Proof that courtship can be multimedia. Number 11. Sea firefly, Vargula hilgendorfi. Imagine tiny crustaceans, each no bigger than a sesame seed, expelled from the mouth of an octopus, creating an explosive cloud of brilliant blue light that hangs in the water like an underwater bomb blast. Sea fireflies produce one of the brightest bioluminescent displays per unit body mass in the ocean. A defensive secretion so intense it can temporarily blind predators. When threatened, they secrete two chemicals, vargulin luciferin and luciferase, that react in seawater to produce intense blue light. The reaction happens outside their bodies, creating a glowing cloud that persists for minutes, a distraction allowing escape while the predator is fixated on the bright decoy. In Japan, sea fireflies have been harvested for centuries and dried into powder that, when wetted, still produces light. During World War II, Japanese soldiers used dried sea firefly powder as a light source for reading maps at night without revealing their position. That's the sea firefly, a seed-sized crustacean creating explosive light displays, a creature that weaponized bioluminescence into a smoke bomb. Number 10. Crystal jellyfish, Aequorea victoria. Picture a jellyfish drifting through Pacific waters, translucent and nearly invisible in daylight. But in darkness, its edges rimmed with bright green light that pulses as it moves. This is Aequorea victoria, the crystal jellyfish, and hidden within its bell is a protein that would revolutionize biological research. But we'll save that revelation for number 1. The crystal jellyfish produces blue bioluminescence through Aequorea, a calcium-activated photoprotein. But what makes it special is what happens next. The blue light is absorbed by green fluorescent protein, GFP, which re-emits it as green light. The jellyfish uses a 2-stage lighting system: produce blue light, then convert it to green using a fluorescent protein. The Aequorean system requires no enzymes or cofactors beyond calcium, making it one of the simplest bioluminescent reactions known. When calcium binds, it triggers light emission. It's reusable bioluminescence. The jellyfish can flash repeatedly by regenerating Aequorea after each discharge. That's the crystal jellyfish, a creature creating green light through blue intermediaries, an animal whose proteins would transform biological research. Number 9. Glowworm beetles, Phengodidae larvae. In caves and forests across the Americas, what appear to be strings of fairy lights hang from rocks and vegetation. Tiny glowing beads of blue-green light arranged in perfect lines. These are glowworm beetle larvae, using bioluminescence as a hunting tool, creating lights that attract flying insects. The larvae produce light from specialized organs along their bodies, typically arranged in pairs along each segment, creating the characteristic string of lights appearance. The light is under neural control, allowing the larva to modulate intensity and pattern. Flying insects are attracted to the light and fly toward it. When they contact the larva, they encounter sticky secretions that trap them. Different species produce different light patterns. Some glow continuously, others pulse. Still others create wave-like patterns. These patterns may help distinguish species or may optimize prey attraction for specific insect types. That's the glowworm beetle, a larva that hunts with light, a predator that makes prey come to it. Number 8. Dinoflagellates, various species. Stand on a beach at night in the right location, and every footstep in wet sand creates a burst of blue light. Every wave crashes in glowing foam. Every movement in the water trails sparkling luminescence. This is bioluminescent dinoflagellates, single-celled organisms so abundant they turn entire bays into living light shows. Dinoflagellates produce bioluminescence through scintillons, small organelles packed with luciferin and luciferase. The system is mechanically triggered. When water movement deforms the cell, it triggers an action potential that causes the scintillons to flash. The flash serves a defensive purpose. The burglar alarm hypothesis proposes that when disturbed by small predators, the light attracts larger predators that eat the smaller ones. The phenomenon reaches spectacular scale in bioluminescent bays, where dinoflagellate concentrations reach millions per liter. Every movement creates cascading light shows as billions of cells flash simultaneously. That's dinoflagellates, single cells creating ocean-scale light shows, organisms that call for backup using light. Number 7. Lanternfish, Mycophidae. Imagine the deep ocean's twilight zone, 200 to 1,000 meters deep, where sunlight fades to nearly nothing. This is the realm of lanternfish, small silvery fish that may be the most abundant vertebrates on Earth, with an estimated population of 660 million tons. And almost all of them glow, their bodies covered with species-specific patterns of photophores. Lanternfish possess photophores, arranged in precise patterns. Different species have different arrangements. creating species-specific light signatures for identifying potential mates in darkness. But lanternfish bioluminescence serves another crucial function: counterillumination camouflage. Predators looking up see prey silhouetted against faint downwelling light. Lanternfish produce light from ventral photophores that matches the intensity and wavelength of light from above, erasing their silhouette. Lanternfish perform the largest animal migration on Earth every single day. Billions of tons rise toward the surface every evening to feed and descend again at dawn, transferring enormous amounts of carbon between ocean layers. That's lanternfish, the invisible majority, a fish that erases its shadow using light. Number 6. Firefly squid, Mycena scintillans. Picture Toyama Bay, Japan, on a spring night, and the water erupts with millions of tiny squid, each covered with hundreds of glowing photophores, creating a display so spectacular it's been designated a special natural monument. This is the firefly squid, producing one of the most intense and beautiful bioluminescent displays in the animal kingdom. Firefly squid are small, only about 3 inches long, but their bodies are covered with approximately 1,000 photophores capable of producing blue bioluminescent light. The squid can control each one independently, creating complex patterns that flash, pulse, and ripple across their bodies. What makes firefly squid displays truly spectacular is their synchronized spawning. Every spring, millions of squid aggregate near the surface to mate and spawn. The combined bioluminescence creates a glow visible from shore, turning the bay blue-green with living light. Each photophore contains a light-producing organ, a reflector to direct light, a lens to focus it, and a shutter mechanism to control emission. They're essentially biological flashlights. That's the firefly squid, a creature covered in 1,000 lights, an animal that paints bays with bioluminescence. Number 5. Pyrosomes. Imagine a hollow cylinder of translucent tissue floating in the ocean, sometimes 6 feet long or more, and when disturbed, the entire structure lights up with waves of blue-green light pulsing along its length. This is a pyrosome, a colonial organism made of thousands of individual zooids working together. Pyrosomes aren't a single organism, but a colony of tunicates. Each zooid is a tiny filter feeder, and together they form the cylindrical structure. The bioluminescence is remarkable for its coordination. When one zooid is stimulated, it flashes, triggering neighboring zooids to flash, creating a wave of light that travels along the entire colony. It's emergent bioluminescence, no central control, but collective behavior arising from local interactions. What makes pyrosomes fascinating is how they manage coordinated bioluminescence without a nervous system connecting zooids. Each is an independent unit, yet the colony behaves as a unified bioluminescent organism. That's the pyrosome, a colonial organism creating coordinated light shows, thousands of individuals flashing as one. Number 4. Anglerfish, various species. In the deepest parts of the ocean, 2,000 to 4,000 meters down where eternal darkness reigns, swims a nightmare of teeth and hunger. But dangling from a rod extending from its forehead is a glowing lure, a bioluminescent bulb that draws prey close enough for jaws to snap shut. This is the anglerfish, perhaps the most iconic bioluminescent predator in the ocean. Female anglerfish possess an esca, a bulbous lure at the end of a modified dorsal fin spine. The esca contains colonies of bioluminescent bacteria that produce continuous light. The anglerfish provides nutrients. The bacteria provide the lure. The lure glows constantly, mimicking bioluminescent prey. Curious predators or scavengers approach what they think is an easy meal and find instead a mouth full of needle-like teeth. Different anglerfish species have evolved different lure shapes and light patterns. Simple round lures, complex branching structures, lures with multiple bulbs. The variation reflects adaptation to different prey and depths. That's the anglerfish, a deep-sea monster with a living lure, a predator that weaponized bacteria into deceptive light. Number 3. Flashlight fish, Anomalopidae. Picture a fish with what appears to be headlights, bright bioluminescent organs beneath each eye that can be turned on and off like flashlights, allowing the fish to signal to schoolmates, confuse predators, and illuminate prey. This is the flashlight fish, with one of the most sophisticated bioluminescent signaling systems in the animal kingdom. Flashlight fish possess large photophores, organs filled with bioluminescent bacteria, positioned beneath each eye. The photophores produce continuous bright light, but the fish has evolved a mechanism to control visibility. A black shutter of skin that can be raised or lowered like an eyelid, allowing the fish to blink its lights at will. The blink patterns serve multiple functions. Flashlight fish use synchronized blinking to maintain school cohesion. But the most remarkable use is predator evasion. When threatened, they produce rapid, irregular blink patterns while swimming erratically, creating a confusing visual display. Some fish will swim one direction with lights on, then turn and swim differently with lights off, creating false trails. That's the flashlight fish, a creature with controllable headlights, a fish that uses blink patterns as language. Number 2. Cookiecutter shark, Icystius brasiliensis. Imagine a small shark, only about 20 inches long, that preys on animals thousands of times its size. Whales, dolphins, tuna, even nuclear submarines. It doesn't kill them, it just takes a bite, removing a perfectly circular plug of flesh. This is the cookiecutter shark, and it uses bioluminescence in one of the most clever hunting strategies. It pretends to be a much smaller fish. The cookiecutter shark's underside is covered with photophores producing green light, creating counterillumination camouflage. But here's the genius. The shark has a non-luminous dark collar around its throat. When predators look up, they see not a shark-sized silhouette, but only the small dark collar, appearing to be a tiny fish, an easy meal. Large fish or marine mammals approach what they think is small prey, and when close enough, the cookiecutter latches on with suctorial lips, bites down, and twists its body, cutting out a round plug of flesh. The wound isn't fatal. The prey survives with a distinctive circular scar. Cookiecutter sharks have even attacked submarines, biting into rubber sonar domes and electrical cables. The U.S. Navy had to redesign submarine components to resist cookiecutter shark attacks. That's the cookiecutter shark, a predator disguised as prey, a small fish that eats giants one bite at a time. Number 1. Crystal jellyfish, GFP revolution. Now we return to the crystal jellyfish, but this time to reveal the full story. A story that begins with a curious scientist collecting jellyfish in the 1960s and ends with one of the most important tools in modern biological research. In 1962, Osamu Shimomura was studying Aequorea victoria bioluminescence. He isolated Aequorean, but noticed something strange. Aequorea glowed blue, yet the jellyfish glowed green. Something was converting blue to green light. After processing tens of thousands of jellyfish, Shimomura isolated green fluorescent protein, GFP. Unlike bioluminescent proteins that produce light through chemical reactions, GFP is fluorescent. It absorbs blue light and re-emits it as green. But the true revolution came when other researchers realized GFP could be used as a biological marker. The gene encoding GFP could be attached to other genes, creating fusion proteins that glowed green under blue light. Suddenly, scientists could watch specific proteins in living cells, track gene expression in real time, observe cellular processes as they happened. The applications exploded. Researchers used GFP to watch neurons fire, to track cancer metastasis, to observe embryonic development, to monitor bacterial infections. GFP-tagged proteins allowed visualization of processes that were previously invisible. Nearly every major biological discovery of the past 30 years has used GFP or related fluorescent proteins somewhere in the research process. The 2008 Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to Shimomura, Chalfie, and Cien for the discovery and development of the green fluorescent protein, GFP. The Nobel Committee noted that GFP has become one of the most important tools used in contemporary bioscience. Crystal jellyfish continue to drift in Pacific waters, completely unaware that a protein they use to convert blue bioluminescence to green has transformed human understanding of life at the cellular level. That's the crystal jellyfish and GFP, a protein that was always glowing, waiting for someone curious enough to ask why. Proof that the most transformative discoveries often come from studying nature, not for what it can give us, but simply to understand how it works. From jellyfish whose proteins illuminate cellular biology, to sharks that disguise themselves as prey using strategic darkness, to single-celled organisms painting entire bays with light. These 15 bioluminescent organisms share a profound truth. Life found a way to make light, not once, but many times, in many ways, for many purposes. What strikes me most is the diversity of solutions. Some organisms produce light through their own biochemistry. Others recruit bacteria as living light bulbs. Some use light to hunt. Others use it to hide. Evolution discovered bioluminescence independently at least 40 times, suggesting that the ability to produce light provides such significant advantages that natural selection keeps finding paths to the same solution. The mechanisms are equally diverse. Different luciferins, different luciferases, different cofactors. Firefly luciferin is completely different from bacterial luciferin, which is different from dinoflagellate luciferin. Each represents an independent evolutionary solution to the same challenge. Perhaps most humbling is what we've gained from studying these organisms. GFP revolutionized biological research. Luciferases are used in medical diagnostics. Aequorea measures calcium levels in cells. The study of bioluminescence has provided fundamental insights into enzyme kinetics, protein structure, evolution, ecology, and biochemistry. But we're also losing them. Ocean acidification affects dinoflagellates. Pollution threatens bioluminescent bays. Deep-sea trawling destroys habitats. Climate change alters distributions. We're dimming the ocean's light shows before we fully understand them, potentially losing biochemical systems we haven't yet discovered. These 15 organisms are invitations and warnings. Invitations to appreciate that some of the most beautiful and scientifically valuable phenomena come from simply asking, How does that work? About creatures that glow in the dark. Warnings that biodiversity loss means losing biological innovations refined over hundreds of millions of years, losing potential solutions to problems we haven't yet encountered. Because sometimes the most important scientific tools come from jellyfish. Sometimes the most spectacular displays come from microscopic algae. Sometimes the most ingenious hunting strategies involve controlling which parts of you glow. And sometimes the organism we study, just because it's beautiful, just because it glows in fascinating ways, just because we're curious, that organism hands us a gift that transforms human knowledge, a protein that lets us see the invisible, a window into the workings of life itself. The dark ocean is painted with light by creatures we're only beginning to understand. And every light we study teaches us something not just about bioluminescence, but about life, chemistry, evolution, and the unexpected ways that curiosity about the natural world leads to discoveries that change everything.